Welcome back to the series of AWS Solution Architect Associate. So today we will be solving Module 4 Challenge Lab, which is creating a dynamic website for the Café. So you can just ignore the scenarios, and then after completing this lab, we should be able to connect to the AWS Cloud9 IDE on an existing EC2 instance, analyze the EC2 instance environment and confirm web server accessibility, install a web application on an EC2 instance. Also use AWS System Manager parameter store, test the web application, create an AMI, deploy a second copy of web application to another AWS region. So on the start of our lab, so this is how the AWS cloud would look like. So it will be specific to your one region. We'll have an EC2 instance inside a public subnet. We'll have some IAM role, and on the end of this lab it would look something like this. So this EC2 instance would, using this, will be creating an AMI. Using this AMI, we'll be copying this AMI to another region, and then we'll be having stems manager parameter store, and also we'll be having some EC2 instance here inside the public subnet. So this is something like it would look. So let's start with challenge 1. So let's open this AWS, and then so in this task we'll note details about the existing EC2 instance that was created for us. So let's go to EC2 instances. So there is this one EC2 instance which is already created for us. So let's open this. Notice the running instance named AWS Cloud9 Café web server. This EC2 instance was created when you started the lab, right? So we should open the quiz. Let's go to show, access multiple choice question. So is the instance in a public subnet? So let's check. So yes, as you can see that it is having IPv4 address. Also we're having this public IPv4 DNS. So that means I can access this machine from outside. So let's try to access it. Let's see what we see here. So basically nothing, but since it is having public IPv4 address, the first answer would be yes. So we need to answer question 2, 3 and 4. So let's see what is question 2. Does the EC2 instance have an IPv4 public address assigned to it? Since it's in the public subnet, we can say yes. And then in question 3, what inbound TCP port numbers are open for this instance? So let's go to security and let's check the inbound rules. So we can see that port range 22, TCP 22 is open for a specific IP, right? So that means TCP port 22 only open to specific range of IP addresses. So we can note this from this line. So port 22 is open, but only for this specific IP. Does the EC2 instance have an AWS identity and AWS management role associated with it? So let's check. Actions, security, modify IAM role. So it doesn't have any IAM role associated with it, so it should be no. Let's continue with the lab. So task 2, connecting to the IDE on EC2 instance. So to connect the IDE to the EC2 instance, we will be using something AWS service called Cloud9 that can run on an EC2 instance. Okay, so let's follow along. In search box next to services, search for Cloud9. So let's go to Cloud9. So this is Cloud9. So there should be this Café server environment. So let's choose open. So this is nothing but a online IDE, just like a VS Code which we have in our local machine. So we can see that we are having here a bash terminal. Also we're having a folder structure, something called this here. So it's just like an online IDE. So let's continue with the lab. As I just show you, so the IDE includes a bash terminal. A file browser in the left panel shows the files in the home EC2 user environment. So these files are inside the EC2 environment. A file editor in the right panel. If you double click a file in a file browser such as readme.md, it will display in the editor. So if I open this, so it will open in the editor. It's like an online editor, right? So let's continue. Analyzing the LAMP stack environment and confirming that the web server is accessible. So let's follow along all these steps. So I'll just copy paste and explain everything. So what this PROC means is process. So it's showing the process version. So when I run cat process version, that means I'm opening this version file, and I can see that it's a Linux environment with certain version. It says that it's an Amazon Linux instance. And now let's observe about the web server, database, and the PHP detail. So I'll try to explain each code. So what is this? So that means HTTPD is something, an HTTP server here. So I can check which version of HTTPD is installed. So it's Apache version 2.47 from Amazon. It's installed, so that means we can verify that it's successful. It's installed there. We can also check the status of this HTTPD. It's a service, so it's currently stopped. And let's also see MySQL version if it is installed here. So my MySQL version 14.14, it's installed. Let's also see if it is running or it's stopped. So MySQL server is also stopped. And lastly, let's check PHP version if PHP is successfully installed. So we can see that PHP version 5.6.40 is installed. So now, since when we run this HTTP status, MySQL status, and also it was stopped, so we need to start those services. So when I do this, so it basically means that check config. I need to check in config if this HTTP is on. If I do this, so after that I've told that to turn on the HTTP. Now I can start the service. So you can see starting HTTPD, it's okay. And now if I say service status, so when I do service status here, it was stopped. So but now it should be running. So you can see that it's running in some certain process ID, which is 9399. The same thing with MySQL. So I'll turn on the config, and then I will start the service. And I'll check the status. So it's running in certain with process ID 9998. Configure the EC2 instance so that you can use the AWS Cloud9 editor to edit web servers file. Notice that the AWS Cloud9 file browser currently does not display the file Apache server default web directory. In the terminal, run this command. So what basically this command is doing is it is linking this /var www folder to this home EC2 user environment. That means when I'm in this environment folder, that means basically I'm in this var www folder. Basically it's linking the folder. Okay, and also I need to change the permission for this file. So that means I'm changing the ownership of this directory to EC2 user. So it explains explicitly here. The first command you run creates a symlink from the default AWS Cloud Editor workspace to this one that contains your web server file. The second command change ownership of the HTML subdirectory so that EC2 user can edit and create new files in it. So that was simple. So let's create a simple test web page. So in the file browser, expand Café server /w. So after running that, you can see that we have this www. Earlier we didn't have this. So you can just see here there's a link. So basically it shows that it is linked to /var/www. So let's create a file here. So it's asking us to create a file, HTML file. The name of index.html, it should be inside the www directory. So let's create inside this new file, and the file should contain nothing but hello from the Café web server. Let's paste it, let's save, and then it should be inside www, and it should be index.html. So let's save. I'm not sure why that happened. Expand the Café web server www directory and highlight the HTML directory. I'm sorry, it should be in the HTML directory. So it should be here. So I need to go to file, new file, and then this one, and let's save. It should be inside HTML folder, and let's save. Sorry, it should be index.html. Let's rename this index.html. So we have created an index.html file here. Okay, it's suggested by this point. Make the website accessible from the internet. In this step, you will need to verify and update the configuration that makes the web page which are hosted on the web server accessible from the internet. So now, like when I run this IP address, so I should be able to access that website, but because of certain configuration it's not matched. So let's check what we have to do. So from this, what I can understand is let's go to EC2 instance. So if we go to security, which earlier we saw that only a specific port 22 was open for this IP address. So what we can do is we can update this inbound rule. Let's go to security group. Let's edit inbound rule. Let's add one rule, and let's do this HTTP IPv for anywhere, and let's save rule. So now after updating the inbound rule, I think I should be able to access. Yes, so now we are able to access it, correct? So yeah, we did exactly this. So let's go to challenge 2. So now we need to install the Café application. So let's follow along this. In the bash terminal, run this command. I need to run this here. Let's go to environment. Here here we go to the environment folder, and now we are downloading some files, which is this setup file. So let's download. So if I do ls, you should see setup.tar.gz file is installed downloaded here. So I need to unzip it. So to unzip, this is a command. Let's run this command. So this, now we can see that there is a setup folder. Again, let's download db file. So if I do ls, you should see db.tar.gz. Let's unzip that too. So db files, the db zip file also is we extracted it. Let's do the same thing for the Café folder. We downloaded the tar. Now let's unzip the file. So far we have downloaded all the required files, and we can notice from here that whatever, like this is the Café folder, this is a db folder, this is the setup folder. So we downloaded 3 zip files and we extracted them. So basically these are the contents. You also extracted this archive with created Café, db and setup environment. So now I need to copy the Café file to the web server document root. So to do that, I can do move Café to that folder. So basically I should be able to see Café here. So Café is here. So now in point number 18, we can see that observe how the application is designed to work. Open the HTML Café index.php, Café index.php. So basically this is the PHP file. So I've opened it. So this has an HTML code. We can see clearly that this is an HTML code inside the PHP file that are enclosed in elements. These elements may call to the other system resource. Like if you check here, for example, line number so it's saying like line number 18. Let's check line number 18. So basically it's referencing this get app parameters.php file. So if I check this, so here it's getting from the AWS SDK. So we can check line number 3. So we're using the AWS SDK, right? Like also from 10 to 33, you can see that we're having these clients and all, and we can see that it's using, like we're using those services to connect with AWS System Manager. So now in the AWS System Manager parameter store, let's configure the application. So to do that, let's go to the setup folder. So we're in the setup folder currently, and let's run this set parameter.sh. So inside this setup folder, let's run this parameter.sh. So if we see this file, it's basically running the AWS SDK and running these different commands. And then from that we can see that the application parameter setup script was completed successfully. So in the AWS management console from services menu, let's choose system manager. From here, So this is the system manager. So let's go to parameter store. Where is it? It's here. So we can see that we have different parameters, and let's choose this Café DB password. So basically this is the name of the parameter and it has a value of this. So basically we'll be using this password inside the application. So if you check the parameter here like Café DB password, that means we are extracting that password from here. Like when we run this command, basically we are setting the parameter store to have this password. So from now on we'll be referencing to this password. So now I've copied this to my clipboard, and let's continue. Configure the MySQL database to support the Café application. Back in the AWS Cloud9 base terminal, run the following command. So let's go to this DB folder. So we are currently in the DB folder, and let's run this command set root password.sh. So we have set the root password. Also let's run this command db.sh. Create db.sh file. Create database script completed successfully. Observe the database tables that were created in the base terminal. So to do that we can use this command. So it's asking me the password. When you append for the database password, paste the DB password parameter value from that you copied. That means this should be the password. So let's enter this password. So inside this MySQL database, we can run few commands. So we can list database, which database we are having. So when I say show database, it will show me different databases. So for this, we'll be using this Café DB database. To do that, we can run this command use Café DB. So database changed. So currently we are using Café DB. So now inside we can list all the tables inside this Café DB database. So these are all the different tables which is present in this Café database. So for this I can let's list what we have in the product table. So we can say select star from product. So basically this is the data which we are having in the product, right? So let's exit from here. And let's follow along. So in this point number 24, we need to update the time zone configuration for the PHP. So to do that, we can do this by running this command. So what basically it's doing is we are setting the time zone. Basically it's writing to this file. So it says it's setting this American New York time zone to this /etc/php.ini. So let's run this. So we have successfully set the timestamp. So after setting the time zone, we need to restart the HTTPD server. So we've successfully restarted. The first command that we run configured the time zone in the PHP software. The second command that we run restarted the web server so that the web server notices the configuration update. That means we change the time zone here, and after running this code, whatever time zone we set, it will be configured here. So test whether the Café website is working and can be accessed from the internet. In a new browser tab, try to load. So that basically I need to say /coffee. It says /cafe. So this is the IP /cafe. Nice. So we're able to see some heading here. So you will see that only the title banner of the website loads. The rest of the web page is not loading correctly. Resolve an issue with the website. In this step, you need to figure out how to make the Café website function correctly. Here's a list of what does work. The test page at loads so that you know that the web server works and is accessible from the internet. You also know that MySQL database is running and it contains table and the data to store application. So now we need to make this Café run like like by solving few challenge. So let's see what tips we are having. There is nothing wrong in the PHP code as written. The issue is related to permission. I'm not sure about which permission. Does the web application rely on any other service or resources in addition to web server and database? For example, does it require access to another AWS services? So far it should be like it needs service of that parameter store. So if you remember, when answering this question number 4, like this EC2 instance was not associated with any IAM role, right? So to do that, like we need to make this IAM role associated. So let's go to the EC2 instance. Let's go to this instance. Let's go to action. Let's go to security. Let's go to modify IAM role. So here I need to choose Café role. Let's update the IAM role. So once updating this IAM role, let's again reload this website. Bang. So we're able to solve the problem. So how did we solve? We gave this, no IAM role was assigned to this instance. So we gave the IAM role by modifying the IAM role. So we currently have this Café role. So whatever permission this Café role is having, we'll be able to access the website, right? So we have fixed, we have checked. So yeah, it does. If you still can't solve the issue, like we solved it, let's leave it. So let's test the web application. Test by placing in order. In the browser tab, where do Café page open, choose menu. Let's go to menu. So these are the different menu. So let's say quantity 1. So I've said 1. Let's say submit order. So we have this order. Let's go to order history. So we have this order. That means our Café is working perfectly fine. So return to the menu page and place another order, then go to the order history. So let's go and add another order. So currently I'm a bit hungry, so I would like to have chocolate chip cookie. So let's add this. Let's submit the order. So this is the order confirmation. Let's see. I want to check what all item I have ordered. Let's go to the order history. Bang. So we are able to see different orders here, right? So it's working perfectly fine. So let's continue. So now there's a business requirement, new business requirement. We need to have a development and production websites in different AWS region, right? So let's create an AMI and launch another EC2 instance. Set a static internal host name and create a new key pair on the EC2 instance. So in the base terminal, let's run this command. The Cloud9. So we're saying the host name is Café server. And now I will be running this SSH keygen. So I can say enter, and it has created some SSH key. And then I can add the public key to the authorized key. That means, so when I run the above command, SSH keygen, that means it's generating some key. So how can I check that? Cat .ssh. So if you see here, we have this id rsa.pub. So basically this is a key. So now when I run this command, so what I'll be doing is I'll be adding the key to my authorized keys. So I have this file here, authorized keys. So I'll be adding this key to this authorized keys by running this command. So let's do that. So we have added the key, and let's follow along. So in the AWS management console, browse to EC2 service. We're currently in EC2, and we're also in the instance. So this is the instance, right? So let's go to the instance. So we need to create an image. So let's go to actions, let's go to image and templates, and let's go to create image. So basically now we are creating an AMI, a new image from the current instance. So it's asking me to answer these few questions, question number 5, 6, and 7. Let's go through the questions. Let's see, when you create an AMI from the instance, will the instance be rebooted? Yes, always. No, never. You have the option not to reboot, but by default it will be rebooted. You have the option to reboot, but by default it will not be rebooted. So I think the answer is this point 4. So we can verify it when we create an image. Question number 6. In what ways can you modify the root volume properties when you create an AMI from the instance? You cannot change the root volume details. You can edit the size but nothing else. You can edit the size and delete on termination setting but not the volume type. You can edit the size and volume type but not the delete on termination setting. So I think the answer should be point D as well. I'm not sure about this. We'll verify later on. And let's see question number 7. Can you add more volume to an AMI that you create from the instance that only has one volume? So I think yes, we can always add more volume. So we can always mount an EBS or something like that. So the answer should be yes. So let's continue with these questions. So in the AWS Management Console, in the create image screen, create the new image, new AMI. Let's say Café server. So the name should be Café server. Let's create an image. So let's go to AMIs. So currently a new AMI is creating. So that status it's in pending state. So it from the navigation menu, choose AMIs and wait until the image status becomes available. So currently it's pending. So let's wait until the status is available. So this will take some time. So till that time, I think we can go through another question. From the navigation menu, choose AMIs. I think we will read it. So in point number 35, what we have to do is we have to create an AMI in another region. In this step, your objective is to create a new EC2 instance from the AMI that you just captured. However, you must create a new instance in the Oregon AWS region. So currently we are in this North Virginia region. So till the time this is pending, let's go through another region. Let's go to US Oregon region. So here we don't have any AMI, like we don't have any images, right? But we want to create an EC2 instance in this region using the AMI which we just created. So for that, let's go back to US East 1 region, North Virginia region. So let's wait until this status is changed to available. So finally, the AMI has the status of this AMI has changed to available. So in point number 35, they want us to create an EC2 instance inside the Oregon US West region, but we don't have the image in that region. So we have the image in North Virginia region. In order to make this image available for Oregon region, so what we have to do is, let's go to this AMI, let's go to action. So what we can do is we can do this copy AMI. So I can copy this AMI to another region. So I've copied this AMI, but I want this AMI to be copied to the Oregon region. So this is the Oregon region. Also, let's copy the text and let's say copy AMI. So if I change the region, so let's go to AMIs. So currently I'm in North Virginia region and I have the AMI here. So let's change this to Oregon region. So earlier we didn't see any AMIs here, but now we are seeing this AMI, which we copied from the US East 1 region. So currently the status of this image is pending. So we have to wait for this status to change to available. So like we did earlier. So let's wait for the status to change to available. So after waiting for quite some time, so the status has changed successfully to available. So now using this AMI, I can launch an EC2 instance. So let's follow along. So we need to create a new Café instance from the AMI. The new instance that you create must have the following criteria. It should be in the region Oregon. So currently we are in the Oregon region. So let's launch an instance from the AMI. So let's follow along. So I can choose from my AMI owned by me, and I can choose this Café server AMI. So let's verify that we are in the Oregon, US West Oregon region. So we are okay with that. And it's asking me to choose the instance size T2 small. So it should be T2 small. Okay. The network should be lab VPC region 2 public subnet. So it should be lab VPC 2 region and it should be public subnet. IAM role should be Café role. So let's proceed without a key pair. Create a new one named Café SG with TCP port 22 open to anywhere. So I think we can just simply use the existing security group. So we need to have like IAM role should be Café role. So I think we can let's launch the instance now. We'll attach the IAM role later on. So we have successfully created an EC2 instance. I'll also open this EC2 instances in another region. So let's see what security group are we having here. So I should have some security group exactly to this. Actions, security, modify IAM role. I can choose Café role here. So let's update the IAM role. Actions, security, change security group. So let's remove this and save it. So now we successfully add the security group. So we have followed all this. So we have created a new instance. So we can see if the new instance, let's close this tab. So it has a public IPv4 address, also a DNS. So let's close this. So we have this instance, newly created instance. Instance state is running. Let's check if the health is passed. Okay, running. So let's copy the public DNS value for this instance, public DNS. So I've copied it. To create the needed AWS System Manager parameter in the new AWS region, complete this step. Return to the AWS Cloud9 IDE in the North Virginia, US East 1 region. Open the Café web server setup, set app parameters.sh. Let's go to this one. Let's go to set parameter.sh. So I'm here. Update line number 12. So let's paste. And then edit line 18 to match the setting where public DNS of the Café. Public DNS line number 18. So I think I can directly paste it. So this was the DNS. The line should still contain the quotation mark, but it should not contain the angle bracket. So now we can confirm that line 12 is this and line number 18 is this. Let's confirm. Line 12 is having US West 2, line 18 is having this. So let's save. So we have saved the file. To run this script, go to the top of the IDE and choose the run button. So there should be some run button here. Okay, so let's run. So the script is currently running. So application parameter setup script has completed. So let's verify the new Café instance. Return to the EC2 console in the Oregon region and verify that the new prod server instance is running. So yeah, it's running. Copy the IPv4 public IP address. So this is the public IP address. The server is running. Okay. So I need to also add Café here. So our Café is still running. Let's check order history. So we still have the order history in the new instance, right? After creating all the AMIs, all the webs like EC2 instance, so now I'm pretty hungry. So I want to have croissant, I want to have a donut. Also I want to add this muffin into my order. Let's submit the order. So I've ordered all these items. Let's go to order history. Nice. So we're having all this order history. So let's also check order history here. Okay, so now we have two different environments, a production and a development environment. Skip this one if you didn't encounter any issues while loading the menu page. So did we encounter any problem while loading this menu page? No, so we can skip. Let's skip it. So with this, we have finally completed this challenge lab, and it's amazing, right? So what are the takeover of this challenge lab? So let's go to here. So we learned how to use Cloud9, which is an online IDE. We ran all these different scripts. We added a security group. We added a IAM role to this to the instance which was in the US East 1. Using that instance, we created an AMI, and then using this instance, we created an AMI. The AMI was created in the North Virginia region. We copied this AMI to the Oregon region. After we copy the AMI in the Oregon region, using that AMI, we created a new instance. Using this AMI, we created this instance. So after creating this instance, we added the Café role, IAM role to this instance. We added the security group to this instance. And after doing all those hard works, all those hassles, so we're finally able to run this Café. We are able to list all the menus. We were able to submit orders. We were able to see the order history. So I think with all this hard work, this challenge lab is completed. So thank you for staying along. I hope you were also able to complete this challenge. If you weren't able to complete this challenge lab, do mention the problem you're facing in the comments so that we can work together. So see you in another challenge lab or another guided lab.